I believe that I am live. Let me check here. Let's see. Oh, there I am. Hello, everybody. Is anybody there? Can you guys see me and hear me? Should have my mic on. Yep. All right. Hello, hello. Is anybody out there? I'm just going to wait and make sure that everybody can see me and hear me okay before we start. Oh, I see a couple people on there. Hi. Here we go. Is everything working okay? You guys can hear me. You can see me. A couple more here. I just have my iPad set up, so I'm going to make sure. Hi, guys. Let's see. Hi. All right. Are you guys there? Can you hear me? Can you see me? Just want to make sure and let a couple more people jump on before I start. I am going to preheat some of my Isomalt here. Hi, Sharon. All right, you can see and hear. Thank you, Kathy. All right, how are you guys doing today? Happy Friday. It's Friday, right? Yeah. Happy Friday, everybody. Awesome. Good. You can see and hear me okay. Fantastic. Okay, I am just preheating my yellow Isomalt while I wait for everybody to jump on, and then we'll go ahead and get started. Hi, Amy. Hope you're doing good. We are going to be making our fire today in lots of different ways, so I'm going to show you some ways to pull it, ways to pour it into molds, ways to do it by hand in a couple different variations, so I'm super duper excited. Hello from Austria. Hello. Thank you for being here. All right. How are you guys doing? Everybody doing good? You guys working on any orders for this weekend? Almost melted. All right. Fantastic. So yeah, I'm just going to preheat this and then we'll go ahead and get started. Is anybody going to be following along today? Are you going to watch and practice the techniques later? I know we had a bunch of people get our accessory kit for this project, so hopefully I'll see lots of Isomalt flames and Isomalt fire decorations after this. Awesome. Okay. Let's see. Hi, Daniela. Hi, Stacy. Welcome. How are you guys doing today? If everybody wants to leave where you are watching from, where you're from in the comments, that would be awesome. Hi, Sophia. How you doing? Let's see. My iPad froze here. Let me see if it's just my internet. Yes, I believe so. All right. Put a little bit more heat on there. Awesome. And Mom will be in here in a minute too, so she will read out any questions that you guys have, any comments. Hi, Karen. How you doing? Watching from Frederick, Maryland. Let's see. Karen's in the UK. Faith is in Maine. Awesome. That's the fun part about these live streams. I get to see people from all over. It's super duper fun. We can all watch together even though we may be in different time zones and different places. Let's see. Hi, Diana. Lois is in Knoxville, Tennessee. There we go. Got my red heated here. Or my yellow. Got my red in now because we're going to use those at the same time. Daniela is here. Yeah, we're good. Let's see. Daniela's in Florence, Italy. That's amazing. Thanks for tuning in. Teresa Comfort is here. Hi, Teresa. Yay! Awesome. So for anybody who just is hopping on, I am pre-heating my Isomalt. So I heated up the yellow first, and then the red is going to be after that. Hi, Matthew. Pat Ashley is here. Hi. All right. Fantastic. So we'll go into making our flames in just a second here as soon as this one is heated. Now that we have a whole bunch of people on. Sandy Sachs, hi, in West Palm. Fantastic. Mom is here now too. So she will be reading out any of your questions and comments.
Hi, everybody.
All right. Wintry, Minnesota. Antoinette is from. That sounds like a pretty place. All right, so yeah, we'll go ahead and get started. While that finishes, that should be done after this heating interval. So we'll go ahead and get started. Thank you guys so much for being here. I'm super duper excited to show you this technique today, or all these techniques today, because we're going to be doing a bunch of different ones on how to make Isomalt flames. And yeah, it's going to be super duper fun. I'm Sidney Galpern. If you're new here, I'm on simicakes.com, and I invented Simi Isomalt, which is what we're going to be doing today. So Simi Isomalt is my brand of pre-cooked Isomalt, so it's already pre-tempered. You don't have to worry about cooking it or tempering it or anything like that. You just heat it up in the microwave, which is what I'm doing right now. So I take the pre-tempered tiles, I pop them in the microwave for 30 seconds and then 15-second intervals until it's a liquid and until it comes to a boil. So that's all I'm doing because it's already been pre-cooked. You don't have to worry about temperatures or recipes or anything, which makes them super easy. Isomalt is going to work a lot better than traditional boiled sugar, but you could apply both or all of these techniques to either one. But traditional sugar is a lot more temperamental. It sucks in moisture a lot easier, so it's going to melt and get sticky really fast, where Isomalt can hold up really, really well for a long period of time. So that is what I'm going to be showing you today. Mom just grabbed me a bag of Isomalt that I can show you. So this is the red Isomalt that we're going to be using, and I'm also going to be using yellow. You can also pre-color it yourself if you have clear, if that's what you're working with. To get these transparent colors that I'm going to be doing today, I recommend airbrush color. Edible airbrush color, which is going to be a water or alcohol base, gives you the see-through effect, whereas you can also use powdered color like luster dust and petal dust, but those are going to give you more of a shimmery or an opaque finish, more like porcelain than glass. You just never ever want to mix in gel color. You can also mix in flavor oils into the Isomalt when it's liquid, so after I melt it down, you can mix in oil-based flavors. That would be really fun for flames. You could do like cinnamon, or you could do something that coordinates to whatever you're making, and that way, because I'm going to be showing you some desserts today, that will give you some more options too of different ways that you can kind of customize the Isomalt to your individual projects. Alright, so set this back here somewhere, somewhere out of the way. Let's make sure this is heated. Yep. Alright. So yeah, we are going to be doing flames today. Flames is one of the most popular things to do with Isomalt. I get questions about it all the time, so I thought I would do a live stream on all of my different techniques for making flames. I have a whole bunch of different ones that I'm going to show you, from using a mold to doing them free-handed in a couple different variations, and then we're also going to be doing some pulled decorations as well. So I'm going to show you lots of different ways that you can pick and choose whichever you like the best for your projects, and whichever one is going to give you the easiest time for your projects, you know, depending on how you want to place them and what you're using them for. I'm also going to show you some fun desserts today. We're going to be decorating a little cake, some cupcakes, and also doing some s'more decorations. So because it's getting into fall and the holidays, I figured baking is going to be happening more and more, especially for our friends and family. So I wanted to show you some fun treat ideas for yourself, for gifts, for family, for whatever you want to make them for. So yeah, that's what we're going to do today. I'm going to go ahead and switch my camera down to the table so you can start to see what I am doing. There we go. And as always, if you have any questions, please write them in the comments, and my mom is here, Michelle, to read them out. I have my iPad set up here, so I'll be checking too, but as I get kind of sucked into working, she's here to read them off. So if you have any questions, any comments, or anything, please feel free to write them in the chat, and I will be happy to answer. And if you're watching the replay of this, you can comment, but you can also, and anyone can also send me a message at any time here on Facebook or Instagram, or send me an email, and I'll be happy to answer any of your questions if you're watching the replay of this. Alright, so what we're going to do first, because it's going to take the longest to cool, is to use a mold. So I'm going to be using my Simi sculpture mat, my flame mat here. So this is, of course, a Simi sculpture mat, so it is one of my products here, but you can use any silicone molds. This one is really nice because you can pour it in, you could bend it to shape while it's warm if you wanted to, you can cut it apart like I'm going to be doing, and you can also use it with different mediums, so not only just Isomalt, but you could put in fondant and gum paste or chocolate or whatever you wanted to. So it's basically just a mat of silicone, and it has these raised edges to create a cavity in the middle that's going to give you this awesome fire effect, and that is what I'm going to be pouring first.
It's yummy with cookies.
Yeah, it's super yummy with cookies too. Because this is high heat for Isomalt, you can actually bake in this. So you can just roll out your cookie dough, lay it over it, and kind of push it in and clear away excess with your finger, put the whole mat in the oven, and bake cookie flames. How cool would that be? So then you could use the mat again to pour Isomalt flames to layer on top, or you could just decorate the cookie however you like to decorate, with piping, with fondant, with chocolate, whatever you want to do, and that will give you really cool 3D cookies as well. So lots of different options, but today I'm going to be showing you with the Isomalt. So we're going to go ahead and pour this. So I'm going to be using my yellow as well as my red Isomalt. So I just preheated those ready to go in my silicone bowls. This is our new silicone bowl that we have on our site now. It's super duper flexible. It's a little bit smaller, so it's good for details, and because it's so flexible, it is really easy to kind of pinch into that pour spout and pour into little details. So I like this for, you know, those small detailed pieces that you don't want to have to keep reheating or refilling your bowl. It has, you know, it can hold a little bit more, but it is also really flexible for pouring the details. So that's what we're going to use. Okay, so all I'm going to do is I'm going to pour this in. Now, I'm going to be doing a marbleized effect of yellow and red and some oranges, but I want to show you a specific way to do it with this, because what can happen is, because of the way that Isomalt cools, it can sometimes cool too quickly, so I'm going to pour it in sections. I'm going to show you kind of all the little tips and tricks with this to make sure that it's going to come out perfect for you. So what I'm actually going to do is I am going to pour this in yellow first, and then I'm going to drizzle in some of the red, and that is because red is really, really, really an intense color, right? Red can really overtake yellow so easily and so quickly if you do too much, and that's what I see a lot of the time, is that the red just absolutely overtakes the yellow, and you end up with red flames with just like little tinges of orange or tinges of yellow in it. So I wanted to show you, because when you think about flames, you usually will think more so yellow with just touches of red and orange, so that's what I wanted to show you guys, an easy way to do this. Now, the important part when pouring your Isomalt into the sculpture mats is to pour it at the right temperature and the right texture. So like I said, I heat up my Isomalt in the microwave in my silicone bowl for 30 seconds and then 15-second intervals. Now I bring it to a boil because that's the best way to get the bubbles out. So you want to bring it to a boil. Again, I don't go by temperature, I just go by when it comes to a boil by itself. You don't need to stir it or anything because you don't want to mix in air. Just let it do its thing in the microwave, check it at intervals until it's boiling. So when it's boiling, that means that hot air is going to rise, so any air that got turned in or that stirred in when you were mixing in color is going to all boil itself out. So I let it settle at room temperature for a couple minutes until it stops boiling. So I don't know if you can see with the light here, but it's not actively boiling. It is pretty liquid, so I'm going to be able to pour it easily, but it's not actively boiling. And with these mats, I specifically like to let it cool even a tiny bit longer, because silicone has pores just like skin. It breathes, and when heat touches it, it opens up. What can happen is, just the nature of silicone is that if you have something touch it that is too hot, or maybe it heated unevenly in the microwave and you had a hot spot, it can actually open up the pores of the silicone, and then as this piece cools down, it closes and the Isomalt can get stuck down in those pores and create a stuck spot. If that happens, it's totally fine. All you have to do is put a little bit of water on it. So I'll usually just either run it under water if it's a big spot, or just dunk like a paintbrush and kind of brush up against it to release it. But you don't want to pull on the mat or on the Isomalt because you don't want to accidentally rip it, right? So that's why it's really important to pour it a little bit cooler rather than pouring it right away. I find when I pour it so that it's cooled down a little bit, I have a much easier time of releasing it and I don't get those stuck spots. But it's just the nature of the microwave to heat unevenly, so sometimes it happens, but don't stress if it does, because you can just put a little bit of water on it and it will literally just jump off. And it's super duper easy. So when we're pouring this, that being said, Isomalt is very, very hot, so you want to make sure that you're wearing your gloves. It's about 300 degrees Fahrenheit, which is around 150 degrees Celsius, so it is quite hot. You don't want to stick your finger in it or anything. Make sure that you're wearing gloves. I usually recommend a cotton glove and then a nitrile glove over top of that, and that's going to buffer the heat from your hands and keep it from sticking. So don't follow my bad example of not wearing gloves, because I've been doing this for about 13 years. My hands have no heat sensitivity left, and it's easier for me to show you guys in more detail without them. But I do highly recommend wearing the gloves, but you don't have to be intimidated by Isomalt. I mean, if you bake and you cook, you use ovens and stovetops all the time. Those are way hotter than this, so just be careful, wear your gloves, and you won't have any problem. So yeah, I've just, as I was talking, that kind of gave the Isomalt some time to settle down. It's not boiling and bubbling anymore, it's completely flat. And now I'm going to pour this in sections, like I said, because this has some really small little points that I want to spread it into pretty quickly. So what I'm going to do is pour it section by section. I'm going to have my silicone tool on hand here, and that is just going to help me to spread it in, but you can also use a toothpick or a skewer. And I'm just going to pour one section at a time. So I'm going to grab my bowl from the top edge, and then I'm just going to kind of push it into a spout as I pour towards me. I'm going to pour this one section. Now I'm not worrying about filling it all the way up into the little points yet. I'm just filling the mass of it. Okay, and now usually I would spread it into the details, but because we want that really cool sort of ombre look, I'm going to dip my tool in the red and use that to push the yellow around and kind of start marbleizing in some of the red. And that's going to give us some beautiful oranges on the in-betweens as they meet up, and it's also going to make sure that the yellow is still the dominant color in this piece, and that way it doesn't get overtaken. So I know it's a little bit hard to see against the blue, but when it comes out you'll see it really well. All I did was just kind of swirl it in my tool, and I'm just going to pour it section by section. The pieces will, when they meet up, as long as they're nice and liquid, will just stick right together. You could swipe over it with the torch though if they don't want to stick together. Okay, so I just poured the next section, I dip my tool or my toothpick in, and then just really quickly spread it into all the cracks and crevices of the mold. You have a lot of artistic freedom here to kind of swirl it in certain directions. I just kind of push it into the crevices first, and then I just go back and kind of add in some swirling designs. It's okay if all of the tips don't have the red in it. I just kind of want to get a majority. I could also, let's say, I kind of missed this one section with enough yellow to go in, so I can dip it into the yellow too and do that same thing. Maybe dip in a little red, and this gives it a really cool effect because the tips are a little bit more red than the base of it, and it just kind of gives you a really nice marbleized finish. And of course you could do this with any colors, so if you wanted to go more fun colors or you're doing a different mold, maybe not the fire but something else, you can use this technique anytime you don't want one color to overtake the other too much. Now I'm not worrying about rough edges or anything because I'm going to clean all of that afterwards, so I'm really just focusing on getting the cavity filled, and then I can clean up any roughness or overflows if I accidentally get any in. Okay, so just spreading, 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 pushing it into all the little points. And then I just go one section at a time. So I do this one in about 4 sections. Now if you don't need this whole mat, you don't have to pour all the sections. You could just pour 1 or 2. You can pick and choose which shape is going to work best for your piece or which one you like the best, and then just stop pouring after the first one. You don't necessarily have to pour the whole thing, but I'm going to need a lot of pieces for the little cake that I'm decorating, so I'm going to go ahead and do the whole thing, and then I'll cut it apart later into different sections so it's a little bit easier to manage and to kind of place in my pieces instead of one giant piece. Okay, so see how I just am spreading that little bit. You'll get some strings and stuff here. It's basically just cotton candy, but that's totally fine. Those will all go away when I torch in a second. So you see how I just poured that. Now the last step before we let this dry is going to be to cool, is to torch away any surface bubbles. So like I said, the Isomalt wasn't boiling when I was pouring it, so there shouldn't really be too many bubbles mixed in, but sometimes 1 or 2 will get mixed, kind of tumbled in as you pour it. So I just lightly torch before it sets up so that they easily pop. And now I will let this cool. So I can let it cool all the way down, which will probably take about 10 minutes or so, 10 to 15 minutes, depending on the temperature of your room, and then take it out and use it how I'm going to use it. You could also take it out a little bit early, maybe in about 7 minutes or so, and bend it. So if you wanted this to bend to the shape of your cake, you could absolutely do that, and that would work really, really well. You know, you have different options depending on if you want these to have movement to them or if you leave them so that they are just kind of flat flames. Okay, so that is using a mold. We'll go ahead and put that off to the side and let that cool while we work on our other pieces. Alright, I'm just going to clean off this excess off of my tool, which is why I like the silicone tools because you can reuse them really easily, but again, toothpicks and skewers work really good too. Alright, so I'm going to pop these back into the microwave for just a few seconds, about 15 seconds or so, to get them back to liquidy while we work on our next pieces. So I wanted to make this accessible to everyone. Of course we have the mat and we have the kit of the red and yellow that goes with this demo, but you don't have to have a mold to do this because flames are free-handed, right? Or they're free form. So I wanted to show you how to do some free-handed versions of these. So first we're going to do just a basic, simple, kind of free-handed flame, and then I'm going to show you a little variation on it to get some texture into it. So just re-liquefied my yellow. I'll do the same with the red. Now you can pour right onto your Silpat mat if you want to. You could pour right onto your nonstick Teflon mat if you want, which I'm going to be using a little bit later. You can also just pour this onto a piece of aluminum foil that has some cooking spray on it. What I'm going to do is just use my smoother Silpat mat or silicone mat that I use for pulling, because it doesn't have the texture of the Silpat mat, and it's a little bit easier. I don't have to clean up that texture on the back. But if you did have the texture on the back, if that's all you have, you could just lightly torch it away after the piece is cool. But this is just going to be easier that I can kind of move it around and stuff. So I'm just going to lay that on top. Grab my red out of the microwave. And we're going to do kind of the same thing with the different colors. I know this is yellow on yellow. Can you tell what my favorite color is? But you will be able to see once I pick it up and everything. We're essentially just going to pour some little spots and then kind of move it around with the tool. So what I like to do is just take a little bit and pour it out. Okay, just in a little dot, and then I will dip my tool into the red again, and then just kind of slowly start to drag this up and get some little details on it. So see how I just poured a little piece and then kind of pulled it out into different points. So let's do another one up here. You could pour it into a little bit more of a shape if you want to. So I'll do that one a little bit more elongated. Take some red, and you could do the same thing with orange if you didn't want something as intense as the red. You just want to work kind of quickly so that the Isomalt moves nicely and it doesn't get too cool. I'll kind of make a little end so that it can stick down into the dessert that we're going to use it on. And yeah, so that's a really easy way to get different sizes, to get different shapes. The nice part is, because flames are usually going to be grouped together, you can just kind of freehand these and do a whole bunch of them. They don't have to look perfect. These, of course, because we're doing it by hand and it's not using a mold, they're not going to look quite as like picture perfect as the one in the mold, but it gives you a really easy way to get free-handed shapes and you know, be able to make them any size that you want at any kind of design that you want. Okay, so the same thing, I'll just lightly torch those to make sure that the any bubbles on the surface are popped, and then I'll let those cool. Those are only going to take probably about 5 minutes. Again, you could pick those up a little bit early if you want, and that just takes trial and error depending on the temperature of your room. To bend them slightly, you can reheat them lightly to bend them, but keep in mind that those little points at the end are going to melt down really, really fast if you hit them with the torch. So I'm just going to let those go ahead and cool, and then we'll pick them up and use them on our desserts. All right, you guys doing so far? Do you have any questions or anything as we go? Okay, slide this out of the way.
No questions yet.
No questions?
Susie's thankful that it's recorded so she can watch later. She's multitasking.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's the best part. You can go back and watch it. Remember that all of my past live streams are on my YouTube channel. They're here too, but sometimes it's kind of hard to dig through all the posts to find it if you're watching it days later. So all of my past live streams are on YouTube if you ever want to go back and watch them. Okay, so that was just, you know, the basic free-formed flame shape that gives you, like I said, lots of options to customize it to exactly what you're making. You could do a big long, you know, pour a big long line and kind of make it in the same sort of shape that I did, or you can layer them to add some different depth. But I want to show you a variation on that because there's some cool stuff that you can do with texture. So what I'm going to do is take my Teflon mat, because this I find works a little bit better, this Teflon mat, for this technique that we're going to do than the silicone or the foil. But you can experiment with different ones because it will work on different ones. But basically what we're going to do is we're going to use the alcohol effect to get some bubbly texture in it. This is going to give you a really cool crackly sort of look that adds a lot of depth and a lot of just texture and light reflection in the flames, and it makes it look a little bit more like warm and inviting, and I don't know, I just feel like it's very much like a beautiful fireplace sort of fire. So what we're going to do is just make sure that our Isomalt are still nice and liquidy, which they are. Okay, I'm going to pour some alcohol. I'm going to kind of explain it first because I have to do it quickly, but I'm going to pour some alcohol out onto this Teflon mat pretty generously because that's what's going to create the bubbles in the Isomalt. And then I'm going to just lightly kind of spread it out so that it's a nice thin layer and pour my Isomalt on top in a similar technique than I just did. So I'm going to pour a little bit and then kind of tilt it around and drag it and just shape it into different shapes. And that's going to give us a really, really awesome sort of crackling fire texture. So I'm going to first just pour a pretty generous amount of alcohol out. I'm trying not to absorb too much of the alcohol with the paper towel. I just want to kind of spread it around and then pouring the Isomalt right in. This time I'm going to pour a little bit of the red on top, just a tiny bit through the whole thing. Then we're going to tilt it. So tilting it creates more bubbles and thins it out a little bit. I'm trying not to spill the alcohol everywhere. But I have that there, and then I can go back just really quickly and kind of like pull the edges out a little bit and create that like fiery sort of feel. So it's just kind of pulling those away.
Sydney, Pat Ashley was wondering, is that rubbing alcohol or vodka?
It's vodka. Yeah, you can use vodka or Everclear. Okay. So see how I just kind of pulled the edges apart? You only have a few seconds to do this because it's going to dry really, really quickly. But I just kind of pointed the edges and created like a cool abstract sort of shape. I could do another one on this side because I still have a little bit of alcohol here. So I'll just do a small one. And this works, I've done this technique before. You may have seen when I do like bubbly water effects, but you could really do any colors to get like a really awesome, you know, just abstract texture. Okay, the key with this one is just to work kind of quickly. And then we can go back and clean it up a little bit later. So see how these are a little bit more freeform, they're more abstract looking, they're not quite as perfect, but again, it gives you different, you know, techniques to just kind of accommodate whatever sort of fire effect you want to get. Okay, so we'll go ahead and let that dry. I'm going to just clean up a little bit of the alcohol on the outside here so that it doesn't spill everywhere when I move it.
So Sid, should you torch now?
No, you should not torch now because alcohol is flammable. So these don't have to be torched because you want those bubbles in it. That's why we did the alcohol in the first place, so don't worry about torching over that. Wait till it's completely dry if you need to torch it. And we'll go ahead and let those cool. Those are almost already dry, so it doesn't take very long at all. All right. Now, the fourth kind of flame that I want to show you guys before I start unmolding and putting together our desserts is going to be a pulled flame. So if you guys have seen my videos before, you'll kind of get the idea of pulling, where I pour it out on the mat, I fold in cool air, and I get it to a clay, right? You could potentially pull two separate colors, put them both under your heat lamp, and then just clip pieces of both and kind of twist them and marbleize them together in a similar way you would do with fondant if you wanted to marbleize. But the issue with that is that Isomalt, different colors of Isomalt are different textures. So the kind of like fondant, like black fondant and white fondant are very different experiences to work with, right? Isomalt has the same thing. So if they're not exactly the same texture and you marbleize them together, because it's so time sensitive, it can harden way too quickly, or it can kind of stay soft in some colors, but the other sections are not, and it can just be kind of frustrating and unpredictable. So I want to show you guys a cool way to do kind of an in-between of pulling and casting to create more hand-sculpted flames that you can make them a little bit more precise. So what we're going to do is I'm just going to take this other part of my mat here that we poured the other flames on before, and we're going to pour out our Isomalt into a puddle. So I'm going to pour some yellow, okay, pretty generous amount here. And then I'm going to streak in some of the red, just a tiny, tiny bit, again, because I want there to be room to create orange tones between it. There we go. I can use my tool at this point to make it a little bit less perfect and more swirly, like that. Okay, so I just created like a marbleized puddle. What we're going to do is we're actually going to pull that into the shape once it's cool enough. So I'm going to let that cool a little bit for maybe about 5 minutes or so. Again, depending on your room temperature, you'll just have to play around with it. Luckily, if this doesn't work, you can just melt it all to red and it'll all go to red, so you can use it over and over again. And I'm going to just kind of wait till this cools slightly till I can pick it up, and then I'm going to stretch it and cut it into different flame shapes. So in the meantime, I'll take some of my other pieces out, but we'll keep an eye on that until it is ready. Alright, while we have this mat here, I can go ahead and pick up my little freeformed flames. So when they're cool, they should just peel right off of the mat. Here, let me get them all off and I'll show you on the white how nice they look. And there we go. Alright, so look how awesome that is. That's just like a cool free-handed flame. Sometimes on the back of the pieces, because the silicone breathes, it can let some air kind of out and you'll get slightly like a matte surface. So what I'll do, trying to avoid the very tips of the flames, I'm just going to turn my torch to low and just lightly torch the back. So this is the side that was touching the mat. I don't know if you can already tell the difference, but I'll hold one up in a second to show you once that cools down. But it just makes it so much more clear and see-through. It also does warm it slightly, so if you wanted to bend it a little bit, you could. But now it's completely glassy, crystal clear. So I'm just going to hold this one up so maybe you can see the difference. This one has not been torched, so it's a little bit more cloudy and opaque, whereas this one has, and you can see how much easier it is to see through it kind of on my fingers. So those are really nice. You can layer them on top of each other. You can use them in cupcakes and desserts and different things to give you lots of different cool effects. Okay, we can go ahead and unmold our ones here now. So again, I'm just going to peel that up, and that gives you awesome crackly freeform flames. You can break these apart. You could pour a whole big sheet of this, and then you don't have to worry about getting the edges or anything. Just pour a big sheet of it and then break it apart and make really cool abstract decorations for cupcakes and desserts or on top of your cakes. So that's a really fun way to kind of get that bubbly sort of texture in the piece and just add some more life and some more movement into it. Alright, and then let's check on our puddle's not quite ready, but it's almost there, so we'll have perfect timing to take out our other piece from the mold. Okay, so the mold, always check, with any of these it's good to check, but those are so thin that I know that they're going to be cool. But it's always good to check your pieces with a tool or a toothpick to make sure that they don't make a dent. Again, you could take it out when it's still making a slight dent and bend it to shape. You may have to reheat it slightly with the torch just to get the edges pliable again, but you can kind of tap on it and just make sure that it's at the right texture for you, and then you're just going to carefully unmold it. So I'm peeling the mat away from the piece, not trying to bend the piece at all. And look how awesome that is. So that just gives you that really cool variegation in color, that kind of ombre marbleization. I have some rough edges. You can see like there's some little bits of roughness from where I spread it in. So I'm just going to torch. This is laying down the way it was laying in the mat right now so that I can clean up those rough edges. And then I'll go back and clean any of the bubbles like I was talking about on the little individual flames. So just kind of staying on a low setting on my torch. I'm going to trace the edges here. A little to smooth it over. If you had a really big spill, you do the same step and then you wait about 10 seconds for the heat to kind of sink into the piece, and then you can pick it up with gloved hands and use scissors to trim it. It should be nice and pliable, but that just kind of took care of all of those pieces. So you see how this is a little bit, of course, more perfect because it had those edges of the mold, and then we're going to cut that up into pieces in a little while when we put it on our cake. But again, just gives you different kind of levels of what you want to do, and depending on how your pieces are going to look and how you want them to look, it just gives you so many different ways to do it. I really like this technique of using the yellow and then just streaking in color rather than trying to pour both at the same time, because again, they dry differently. One could overtake the other, especially with an intense color like red. So that's why I really wanted to show you guys that streaking technique. Okay. So now I'm going to flip this over and I'm going to torch away some of the bubbles on the side that was touching the mat. So I'll do half and hopefully you guys will be able to see the difference of how much shinier it gets. Okay, so I'll just do half of it and then I'll pick it up and kind of put my hand under it to show you guys. But of course we want to let that cool for a little bit. Okay, we can go ahead and pull our, while that's cooling, oh, let's just move this in here. We can go ahead and pull our puddle. Oh, did it get too hard? See, if it gets a little bit too hard, I just did that on purpose to show you guys how. You could reheat the whole thing a little bit. But you should want to pick it up if you're not multitasking like me. You want to pick that up when it is still pretty pliable in the center. But I'm just going to reheat it a little bit, so I'm heating the top surface of it, waiting for 10 seconds, flip it over, heat the underneath, wait about 10 more seconds, and then I'll just repeat that process. So you can kind of tweak it if you get a little bit distracted. I know cake decorators never multitask, right? Okay, so you can kind of hopefully see the difference between where I didn't torch it and where I did. It just makes it super duper glassy. And then you can see these are also pliable again, so I could bend these if I wanted to. Alright. There we go. Okay, it's back to pliable again, just like it would have been if I grabbed it in time. I'm going to grab my scissors, and then I'm just going to stretch this and cut it. So when you stretch something, I'm just going to kind of pinch it, hold the other side, stretch, stretch, stretching, and then cutting it at an angle like a flower stem, so it comes to a nice teardrop point, and then I can kind of like shape that into a little flame shape. So you see how it still has the variegation, but you have more control over how it's going to bend, the shape of it, how it's going to look. I can use that same point that I just cut and kind of cut a flat edge to create another one. So I like this a lot better than trying to pull two different colors together and twist them together, because the textures just aren't going to cooperate as easily if you pull two batches of two different colors. Okay, so I'm just pulling. You can make longer ones, and these have a little bit more of like that thin, delicate sort of look as well, because you can see how thin they get from pulling it. Okay, so this you could add a little bit more direction to them if you wanted to, have them sweeping in certain ways. You can reheat this as many times as you want, like I just did, to re-soften and use as much of it as you can, but whenever you're done, you could just throw it back into the red Isomalt and it all will melt to red really easy, or you can make orange out of it. So you could even take these two colors in a separate bowl and just pour a little bit of each of them together, and you can create an orange. Again, very, very small amount of the red compared to the yellow, to make sure it doesn't just turn red. Okay. But yeah, there is some different ways that you can make flames. I mean, there's so many different applications for flames, you know, from fantasy and like dragons to like Harley Davidson and, you know, motorcycle themes. Oop, I just broke that one, but I'm going to break it apart in a second anyway, because now I want to show you how to put them into use. So I'm going to just do, I kind of wanted to be inspired by like fall, maybe some campfires, you know, something kind of warm and rustic. So that's what I'm going to gear all of my desserts and decorations to. So that's what we're going to make next. So I'm just going to slide some of these out of the way for now.
Everybody loves them.
Yay, I'm so glad. Alright, and what I'm going to do is just cut this apart. So I already have one piece, ta-da! But I'm going to cut apart, let's see, pull this off of the mat. There we go. You can see it just easily will cut apart. You don't even have to heat it for this because it's so thin, and you can just kind of break it wherever you want. I like to do this because it just gives you a little bit more freedom. You could stack pieces this way if you wanted to, or you can put them in individually like I'm going to do for my little cake. Okay.
That center one really reminds me of like Matchbox cars.
Yeah, that would be so cool, like a Hot Wheels cake or Hot Wheels little thing. They were when I was a kid.
Yeah.
So I'm going to grab, I made an extra flame, so I'm just going to grab that and cut that one up too. Okay, just so we have lots of different pieces to work with. So I just made one the same way a little while ago. Okay, I'm just going to cut it into pretty much the 4 sections that I poured in. That's what I'm going to do. Okay, so we have lots of different pieces to use, and I'm going to grab my little cake to decorate. So this is just a little tort cake, a little 1-tier cake, okay? And I'm going to just set these in first to create kind of like a flame pattern, and then I'll fill it in with some little logs and add some little decorations too. So the nice part about the mold is that it has this nice thick base on it that I can kind of sink into the cake. So what I'm going to do first is just kind of pick a spot and push it down in pretty deep. Okay. What I would do is, if this was going to be in here long term, is I would glaze the pieces first with the clear edible glaze spray. So just as a reminder, this is the one that I use. I spray all my pieces front and back. That will just prevent the moisture from the cake from seeping into your piece. Alright, so I'm just going to kind of create like a star shape. So see how I put one that way, I put one this way. I'm going to put some pieces in this way. But of course, you could do anything that you want. You can use it more like a border. You can use it just, you know, 1 or 2 flames, whatever you like. I'll hold this on its side in a second so you can see the full effect. Because this one here was a little bit shorter, I'm just going to add these little pieces on the outside. There we go. Okay, so see how I just kind of created that like star shape in the middle, and you could leave it just like that, but a really nice way to get some different kind of like wooden log effects is to use little pirouette cookies. So see how I have the cute little pirouettes? I'm going to just cut some of those down into halves, and then some of them longer, some of them shorter, and I'm just going to kind of place those in between. Let's cut some little ones too.
I love it on the chocolate.
Yeah, it really pops against the brown. Creates, again, that warm sort of feeling. And that'll kind of build up into a little look of a campfire by just layering those kind of into like the little triangular teepee shape.
Sid, Susie'd like to know that we can paint the pieces with gel color, just not mix them in, correct?
Correct, yes. So if you wanted to make these, you know, just a standard yellow or a base color, you can paint over top of them with gel colors. You just can't mix it in. You can also airbrush these. Airbrushing is beautiful for this kind of, you know, ombre sort of soft look, or you can use dust as long as they're mixed with some alcohol. Okay, so I'll hold, when I switch the camera back up in a couple minutes, I'll hold this up so you can see it better. But see how that just created it really easy? Of course, you could by hand roll each one of the little logs and texture them and paint them. But I mean, if you're making something that's supposed to just be eaten and be delicious, and you can kind of take this time and focus in on something else, it's really, really nice when you can use things like these little pirouette cookies, because I think they look really realistic, and they're going to be delicious, and you didn't have to put barely any work into them. So time is money, right, in a bakery setting, and that just is going to give you lots of time to focus on making your flames and making all your other decorations around it. So you could do little cakes or cupcakes around it. I know like individual servings are really big right now, of course, so you could put little individual flames on each one around it and a little pirouette cookie, or you can make some different cupcakes and things like I'm going to show you next. But that's just a fun little campfire cake. I'll probably put some graham cracker crumbs on that at the end too.
Paul says hi. We love doing the cake mix.
Hi, Paul! All right, let's see. So we got our cake. Let's go ahead and make a little cupcake here. I'm going to use a little chocolate fudge cupcake. I'm going to put my flame in like this. So I'm going to use my bubbly flame this time. Let's pick a front for my
Evie wants to eat it.
cake. It looks so yummy, right? And if you flavored these, you know, imagine if they kind of ate this and it was cinnamony, right? That would be so awesome. Let's see, I'm going to put a little chocolate bar. So I have a little Hershey's milk chocolate bar. I'm just going to kind of break a little square. I really like using pre-made candies and chocolates whenever I can, because again, it's easy, it's fast, but it looks delicious. It kind of adds that like super yummy look into it. I'm going to put a couple little marshmallows on top here, and then let's take some graham cracker, and I'm just going to crumble it up into some little crumbs here. Okay, so I'll just put some graham cracker crumbs on top, add that like campfire s'mores feel. Okay, and that looks really yummy, but I think the finishing touch on that is going to be to toast the marshmallows. So I'm going to go ahead and just lightly take my torch and just add some heat.
So I know you love doing that.
I really love doing that, and it brings in that warm brown, of the chocolate and everything, and it just kind of pulls it all together. And look how delicious that looks, right? It really didn't take very long. It took very little Isomalt because these are so thin, so you can get a lot of them out of those 2 bags of color, and it just looks super duper yummy. So there's our little cupcake.
I can't even tell you how good that smells.
All right, I'm going to do another cupcake here, but I'm going to do it in a more of a campfire feel. So let's go ahead and take our, let's do our flames first. So I'm going to use my free-formed flame here. Okay, so just the smooth one that I made by just dragging it out on the mat. I'm going to put that in the top. Let's maybe put another one behind it just for some depth. Okay, keeping it kind of towards the center. Okay, so even just that, super duper cute. Okay, especially if you're doing like a cayenne flavor with your chocolate, because that goes really, really well with chocolate.
Oh, that sounds delicious.
Okay, and then I'm going to take my chocolate bar, slide this up, and I'm going to make these little logs. So again, you could use the pirouette cookies, but they're a little bit big for this. So what I really like to do is create these like log pieces of bark using chocolate. So I'm just going to use pre-tempered Hershey's chocolate. I'm going to use my knife and just cut slivers, pretty thick slivers, off of the chocolate bar to create little like textured bark sort of logs. Okay, see how because the when the chocolate breaks, it creates those like lighter sections. It creates like a really cool effect, so it looks like wood. So if we just take these, kind of layer them around, and then again, it's going to be delicious. Let's go a little bit smaller here, and I'll just go all the way around. Add in those yummy pieces.
Oh yeah, that's amazing.
Okay, let me tilt this up. Okay, so you get kind of like a little campfire effect. And then, of course, we need some toasted marshmallows. This time I'm going to put them on a little toothpick. Of course, you could do this on like a little fondant tube, that, you know, or gum paste that you let dry out if you wanted this edible. But hopefully they know that toothpicks are not going to be edible and you want to take that out. So I'm just going to take those. I'm going to torch those first so I don't melt the chocolate by accident. You could even torch them before you put it on the stick so you don't burn the stick. But it's okay. It's realism.
Would pasta be too light?
You could probably use pasta. It just may be a little crunchy. Okay. Stick that into
oh my gosh, it's so cute.
the icing. Now there's marshmallow on my fingers, so it doesn't want to stay. And look how cute that is! A little campfire.
Oh, I love it.
Okay, so that's another one. And then, finally, we still have our pulled decorations. So let me set this guy off to the side. And I'm going to make a little s'more. So I'm going to take my graham cracker. Okay, I'm going to take a piece of chocolate. Offset it there. I'm going to take a big marshmallow. Okay, and what we're going to do is we're actually going to put the flame right down and in it. So I think I'm going to take my scissors and just put a little cut in the marshmallow to get kind of like an indent and make it a little sticky so that when I stick this down in it, I don't have to like smush the marshmallow too much. Okay, so just put my little flame coming out of the marshmallow, stick that right on top, and then of course toast my marshmallow. And boom, you have little bite-sized s'mores, but it adds that edge of kind of decoration and detail and just brings the level of it up with that cute little flame. So you could even do the graham crackers dipped in chocolate instead. I've seen them dipped in ganache. That would be really, really yummy too. You know, you could do different flavors of marshmallows. You could do lots and lots of different fun stuff. I'm going to put this on a little plate so I can show you guys all these when I flip my camera up. And then now that I have some, oh, my marshmallow wants to fall over. Now that I have some graham crackers crushed, I'm going to add some on the little cake as well because I feel like it'll just tie in the warm colors together a little bit. So I'm just going to make a big huge mess here and put some of the graham cracker crumbs around. It just kind of pulls together like the lightness of the pirouette cookies with the darkness of the chocolate, and I feel like it makes the whole cake look a little more cohesive. There we go. Alright, let me flip the camera up and I will show you what they look like from the side so I don't have to tilt them and risk tipping them over. Alright, here is our campfire cake. Look how adorable that is. Wouldn't that be cute for like a Thanksgiving table or just like a fun little campfire cake for, you know, a little picnic kind of photo shoot or anything like that? Okay, put that down and then I have my 3 desserts. So we have our little campfire cupcake with the free-handed flames. We have the little s'more in the center with the pulled flame, and then we have the bubbly kind of free-handed cupcake on the, I don't know which side that is to you guys, the right side. Hopefully it's the same side as what I'm looking at for the cute little dessert cupcake. So lots and lots of fun ideas. But again, I mean, Flames would be really great for fantasy cakes, for like race car cakes, for Harley Davidson, motorcycle, different themes, circus effects. You know, you could do like fire breathers. You know, you could do like a circus ring that's on fire. You could do dragons, so the mouth of the dragon can be breathing fire. The possibilities are really endless. You can bring in some really fun colors like blue, because blue goes really well with oranges and yellows with that like blue hot fire. So you could do the dipping method that I showed you for just the tips of the flames and do like some blue flecks on it. Yeah, there's just tons of different ideas, and I hope that you guys kind of run with it too and use it for your own flame ideas.
Sasha said great for Girl Scout meeting.
Girl Scout, that's perfect.
And
Yeah.
Kim says rock and roll.
Rock and roll, absolutely. Yeah, that would be so perfect for it. So yeah, if you guys use these techniques, please tag me in pictures, because I love seeing your work and your variations and interpretations of it, because of course there's billions of different ideas from different artists, and that's the best part about kind of collaborating and learning new techniques, is seeing everybody's different interpretations of it.
So Pat Ashley says, let's put flames coming out of the gingerbread houses.
Yeah, we could definitely do that. We're going to be judging the competition in Savannah. That would be so much fun. We'll burn down the house. Not really. So yeah, that is my flames demonstration. I hope that you guys enjoyed it. As you guys know, I usually give you a little sneak peek of what the next playdate is going to be. So if you enjoyed and you want to come back next month, I do one of these playdates every single month. So I have a little flyer here that I will pop up. Drum roll, please. We are doing our holiday candy canes and lollipops. So I'm going to be showing you guys how to make your own candy canes from scratch, so you can make them any flavors, any colors, any shapes even, because we're gonna bend them into candy cane shapes, traditional candy canes, but you can also make little hearts. You can make, I'm going to show you a little Christmas tree out of them. You can make them into initials if you wanted to and make customized gifts. And then we're also going to be making some lollipops, so these beautiful light bulb lollipops with some chocolate work as well. So we're going to be piping some chocolate filigree snowflakes to go behind them to just kind of bring them up to the next level. I have the decorations here that I will show you guys, but that is December 11th, a Friday, again at 2 p.m. EST. So it's going to be just like this, streamed here on my Facebook page, and then I'll pop my camera back up to show you guys, because I have the decorations here, so you can see my little lollipops with the light bulbs and the piped filigree chocolate. So I'm going to show you how to put Isomalt and chocolate together. We're also going to be making some handmade candy canes as well. Again, you could do them different sizes and things. And then I also have this little tree and heart, just to show you some different variations on the different types of things that you can make. So we're going to be making those. Again, just like this one, we do have the accessory kit that goes with it, that is on our website, and we have the different variations depending on if you wanted the former for the candy cane or for the candy cane tree or not. So we have different options for that, but you don't need the accessory kit to do this. It's all going to be live stream free here. So if you have extra Simi Isomalt left over from another project, then you can absolutely use that. I'll talk about all the different colors and everything that I use. So it just makes it super fun. And yeah, and then just a reminder, if you haven't seen it, I am doing another Isomalt workshop, and we're doing a blown workshop again. So the December hands-on Zoom workshop is going to be December 4th or 5th, so it's a one day. You could choose Friday or Saturday, and we're doing this adorable blown Isomalt snowman. So I'm going to show you how to make bubbles. I'm going to show you how to make these super intricate, pretty snowflakes. We're going to be doing the gravity-defying scarves, the little details for the hat and the holly and the face, and then also I'm going to show you how to successfully stack bubbles and glue them together without collapsing them, and yeah, just making this cute little display. You can make it on cupcakes, or you can just make the display. It's for all levels, and it is a Zoom workshop, so it is interactive. So we're going to be able to see each other, and you know, we can kind of work together, and I'll be able to see your work, and we'll get all the different tips and ideas of the class environment, even though we can't be together in person yet. I have that as well. Thank you. Here's the little snowman, so you can see it in perspective size. So I believe, is it a 4-inch or a 5-inch snowflake on the bottom? 5-inch. The 5-inch snowflake, so that'd be perfect for a cake topper, but of course you can use this for anything. And it also gives you just the basic skill of blown bubbles too. So that is what we are going to be doing for the next, me set this guy down, the next Zoom workshop, and I'm super duper excited for that. So to sign up, and all the info is on my website for that one as well. We have the kits to go with it too, or you can just come and hang out and watch. And I also do a replay for all the students too. So if you can't make it on those days, you'll receive within the next week a pre-recorded tutorial. So if you just want the tutorial and you don't want to actually come hang out on the Zoom, or you can't come that day, you can always just wait for the tutorial as well. And I have all my past Zoom workshop tutorials on the website too. So if there's one that you missed, they're always up there with the supply kits or without the supply kits. So yeah, do you guys have any final questions?
Simi Torch team.
Anything like that? Oh yeah, the Simi Torch team. This project specifically that we did today is perfect if you want to try your hand at making some different flame decorations for desserts, because in the Simi Torch team, which is my Facebook group, we are doing the challenge this month is desserts. So it can be cakes and cupcakes, but any kind of dessert that is just looks delicious, that is either made to look like food or made to look super duper yummy, or look like different food, or made to look super duper yummy. Anything that is edible that features Simi Isomalt that is delicious. All of the entries that are posted are going to be entered to win, randomly win a $25 gift certificate from icingimages.com that they donated to us, that we're very grateful for. So make sure, if you're not a member of the Simi Torch team yet, you can search it on Facebook, and it's free to join. You just have to request to join and I'll let you in. And yeah, it's free to join. You get tons of perks. We get discounts that are member exclusive. You get a free gift every month with an order. And we have, of course, all of the different artists posting inspiration and projects and different ideas, and you can ask questions. Plus you get first access to all of my Zoom workshops and my different playdates and things like that too. So make sure that you join and you participate in the challenge. It's totally free. You just can post, it can be an old picture of something that you made a couple years ago, or it can be something new you're making for this season. All the information is on there, and if you need help finding the Torch team, just send me a message. I'll be happy to add you into it. But yeah, all the information for the challenge is on there, so don't forget to submit your Thanksgiving and holiday desserts that you're making this month. And yeah, if you have any more questions, you are welcome to message me or comment here, and I will be happy to answer them. I think that we're all good. Everybody, no final questions?
No, I'm frozen, but I don't know if you are.
I am not frozen, and I don't see any. Yay, I'm so excited that you guys seem excited and you liked it. I hope that you learned a lot, and make sure to tag me in pictures if you make your own Isomalt flames or use any of these techniques that I showed you today, because I would absolutely love to see your work. And yeah, I hope that I will see you guys in my next live stream, and I hope everybody's doing good, staying safe and healthy, and I will see you next time.
Baby says happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving! Yeah, it's almost here already. It's crazy. Bye, guys.